Hey guys, Joel Atkinson here again with Genesis Sports Performance and Physical Therapy. Coming at you with resistance training today. Great movements can be achieved using bands or using any type of resistance, whether it's manually, isometrically, or using a banded object as well. So we see this commonly, this style band used more for the overhead athlete, like the baseball player. But it crosses over for a lot of athletes or recovering patients that are injured, rotator cuff or whatever it may be. Bands can be great, but often are done so poorly. I think some people rely on the band and feeling the burn of a movement that instead of the efficiency of it. So when you're doing bands, attachment is key. Which height level are you working at? And then of course the motion of which you're working. So if we're working on any motion on here, the first thing I got to figure out is, am I aligned? Is my spine neutral? Is my core anchored? And am I isolating the body part that I'm trying to do when using these bands? Again, I see so many kids, they just crank on these things and they're just going back and forth, in and out of hyperextension. There's no concept of the movement. They just think that the band is something that they should be doing, so they go ahead and go through it, but they're not efficient at it. So before we even get to resistance training, make sure again that we're knocking out that concept of isolating the spine, core stability, and proper muscle recruitment. But make sure to incorporate the bands definitely for means of increasing range of motion, active kind of muscle recruitment, and of course core stability. So just kind of taking you through a movement real quick. It's very simple, but it's called the reverse fly. Okay, now we'll do it from a simple stance, just about hip width, but some of the cues that I try to use with our athletes is, let's make sure that our orientation and posture is good first. So make sure that we're lined up. We got it attached about even with the sternum or the chest because of the motion we're going to send the scap through. And then let's make sure that our body from basically the ground up is aligned. So I like to tell, especially those that kind of have this tilted hip joint or that anterior tilt on top of the hip, I like them to squeeze their hips to get underneath them. And this is a lot of, most athletes are gonna need that cue. So a good cue though, kind of squeeze the glutes, kind of help you align and get the hips underneath you, help you anchor the core and kind of create that more neutral spine instead of that more hyperextended lumbar. And then let's go through the reverse fly. Now reverse fly is just taking the arms out to the side and squeezing the scaps is huge here. So what we're trying to do and what we're trying to achieve is get the scap to move freely along the rib cage. So hard to do if we aren't anchored in the right parts, if we're not attached at the right position. So again, don't just aimlessly do your bands. Make sure you've knocked out the attachment, what you're trying to do, and the isolation of that movement. So once I've anchored down, then I'm just gonna take my arms out, straight back, make sure again when I get to this position that I'm aligned from the bottom of my hip all the way up to the top of my head, and then my scaps are coming together. Often what we see is that the stress is not put on the scap at all. So now the scap's not getting that range of motion because we're breaking posture or we're doing the movement ineffectively. So we need to make sure that we get that core lined up so that the scap can kind of openly come across the rib cage and come closer to midline in the back. This will allow us to strengthen the muscles we need to give us that good rotator cuff stability. So make sure when doing banded movements that you get aligned and that you're isolating the right parts of your body so that what you're working on has benefit to you. Because most of the time people are doing bands or doing any other exercises and it's doing little to no benefit for them. So again, if you want to check out some more of our videos, check out our YouTube page. We go to the YouTube channel and check out Genesis Sports Performance and Physical Therapy.